We are now on the record, and this would be in the matter of the state of Ohio versus Michael T. Dixon, 20 CR 0201. And Mr. Dixon is present along with his attorneys, and Mr. Pearson and Mr. King are present representing the state of Ohio. And we're about to commence the next day of trial in this matter. And Mr. Pearson or Mr. King, the next witness, please.
Thank you. The state would like to call Craig Eveland to the stand.
All right, thank you.
You text Tommy.
What's in the record right now?
Come up, sir. Please raise your right hand. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide in this cause is truth, the whole truth, and nothing but truth, so help you God. All right, thank you. Please come around and have a seat there in the box. Comfortable, hold the microphone in front of you. There you go. And if you could please remove your mask. All right. And there's going to be videotaping of this, and the media is also watching this, and they may take some pictures from the screen. Do you mind if your picture's taken during this?
I'd prefer if it's not, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. He would prefer that there be no photographs of him. All right, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Pearson?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Eveland. Could you state your name, spelling your last name for the record, please?
My name is Craig Lewis Eveland, Eveland.
Okay. Craig, where are you from?
I'm from South Louisville, Ohio.
And how long, I'm sorry, where do you live now? You don't have to give your address, just a general area.
I currently live in South Louisville, Ohio.
Okay, good deal. So is it safe to say that you've lived there your entire life?
Yes, sir.
And where did you go to high school?
Logan High School.
Are you currently employed?
Right now, no.
Before becoming unemployed, what did you do?
I was a subcontractor and I did post-frame construction.
How long had you done post-frame construction?
I've done that pretty much my whole life since I was about 16 years old when I started.
Okay. And by the looks of you, you're not 16 anymore.
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you have at least one brother, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is that Dustin Eveland?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Do you have any other siblings?
No, sir.
And just as a matter of reference, who is older, Dustin or yourself?
Myself.
And do you know a woman by the name of Julie Whitaker?
Yes, sir, I do.
How do you know Julie?
I've known Julie since about 1994 when her and her family moved down from Columbus.
And your brother knows Julie as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the nature of their, I guess, relationship?
They were friends in school for a long time. They dated several times off and on.
Did you know James Whitaker?
Yes, sir.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you knew James Whitaker, how you came to know James Whitaker.
James and his wife Diane were friends of my mother and father's, and through family gatherings, hanging out and being friends with their children, we got to know each other pretty well. I even worked with Jimmy for a while on the road, building walk-in coolers and freezers, and they were neighbors. It's a close community.
Okay. Did you happen to know or ever meet James's mother?
Several times over the years, yes.
Okay. What is her name?
Diana.
Okay. So just to be clear, James married Diane.
Yes.
And that was his wife until she died, correct?
Yes.
And James's mother, however, her name is Diana.
Yes.
Okay. Had you ever been over to James's house while he was alive? James and Diana's house, or James and Diane's house?
Yes. Yes, many times. I've been to their original house, the White House, what they called the White House, which was right down the street, and to Diane's cabin.
Okay. Now, is the cabin the one that basically we're dealing with today.
Yes, yes.
How many times had you been there, Craig?
Over the years, it's hard to say. A lot, honestly. I spent a lot more time there when I was younger, being friends with Julie and stuff and going to school with her and things like that. Would go visit and hang out with the family, and I was really close with Diane as well. I went there quite a lot when I was younger. In the last few years, probably only maybe a dozen times.
Okay. Before we get started into the deep facts, I'm going to talk about something with respect to you. You were convicted of a petty theft in 2019, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What type of sanction were you given from that? Community service?
I received probation.
Okay. And when are you off probation for that?
About 10 months from now.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to July 25th, 2020, okay?
Yes, sir.
Did you have an opportunity to go to the cabin address, James and Diane's cabin, with Julie, your brother Dustin, Mr. Strickland, and Diana?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what happened. What caused you to go there?
Jimmy had been missing for about a month, and everyone was getting worried, wondering where he was at, what was going on. My brother and several other people had went up to the cabin looking to see if Jimmy had ever come home or anything like that, because it really wasn't like Jimmy to just disappear. Jimmy was a homebody. He stayed at home a lot. And, like I said, we had contact with him and stuff like that. He was friends with my father. They hunted together and stuff. And we regularly heard from Jimmy. Julie was concerned, and so was Diana, her mother. And they wanted to go up and see what was going on, and especially Diana. So Julie contacted me and my brother and Mr. Strickland and asked us if we would ride up there to the cabin with her and her mother, just, to be there for support and stuff. Like I said, it's a close-knit community where they're like family. I call Julie sis. So they met us just right across the street from my mother and father's house. And me and my brother and Mr. Strickland rode up in a vehicle, and Diana and Julie rode up in the other vehicle. We went to the cabin. When we got there, my brother and Julie got out of the vehicles and immediately went into the cabin. I stayed back with Diana to kind of help her walk, because she's an elderly lady, it's a gravel driveway and such, and it's a long walk up to the cabin. So I stayed with Diana to kind of help her up there, make sure she didn't trip or fall or anything. She was kind of emotional. Excuse me. When we got up to the cabin, Dustin and Julie were already inside the home. He was up on the landing. Michael was.
Okay.
And
you're pointing to?
Yes, Mr. Dixon.
Okay.
Yes, and his daughter Melody was in what is the living room of the cabin. She had a crossbow in her hands. She was walking in circles, kind of talking to herself, laughing, and Julie told them they were going to have to leave. Well, as Julie said that, Miss Dixon, his daughter, Melody, I think that's her last name, she kind of laughed and said, well, we were leaving anyways.
Well, we don't, without telling us what she said, you stated that she laughed?
Yes.
Okay. Just physically, what was she doing?
Walking in a circle, holding a crossbow.
Okay. And had you met Melody before?
Once prior.
Okay. Where did you meet her? Do you remember?
Up at the cabin.
Okay. What about Michael? Had you met him before that day?
I had known his mother and father and his brother. They were kind of, part of the circle that ran around with our parents and stuff. I've known him for years as well, yes.
Okay. Who is his brother?
Oh.
Michael's brother?
Oh, my Lord.
Would it be John Dixon?
Yes, it would.
Okay.
Yes, John.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
So, Craig, you lost my train of thought here, but you had met Michael and seen him a couple of times and talked to him. Is that correct?
Yes, I've known him over the years. We never really run around or hung out or anything like that, but I've run into him here and there and talked to him, yes.
Okay.
I was closer with his brother, John.
Okay. Were you aware that Michael was living with James at the time?
Yes.
When did you become aware of that?
Probably a year prior.
Okay. So, going back to that night of July 25th, 2020, what time of day was it? Do you remember?
It was in the afternoon. I would say it was probably around 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
And in July, would the sun be up at 4 or 5 in the afternoon?
Yes, sir.
So you indicated that Melody had a crossbow, kind of walked around in circles, saying some things to herself. She laughed.
Yes.
What was Michael doing?
He was setting up on the landing in what they called the captain's chair. It was Jimmy's seat. He always sat in up on the landing. It would be pretty much what you'd call the dining room. It was a little room off to the side of the kitchen.
Okay.
It's where Jimmy always sat.
Was he saying anything?
Not really that I could really hear. Julie was more talking to him. Like I said, I kind of stayed back with Diana for support for Diana. Him and Julie did have a conversation, yes.
Okay. Was Julie angry?
A little, yes. She was emotional.
Okay. Yeah. So she was emotional?
Yes.
All right. And did Michael ever tell anyone where James was?
Not to my knowledge, just that he didn't know where he went or what had happened to him.
Okay. That's all that Michael conveyed?
Yes. To me, yes.
And at some point, did Michael and his daughter Melody leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did they leave? How did they do that?
Michael walked down from the landing, went downstairs where him and Melody were staying, gathered up a few things. They grabbed their dog and they exited the house pretty quickly, got in a black Volkswagen. It took a minute to get running because it didn't want to go, and then they took off.
Did you ever speak with the defendant again?
No, sir.
What else did you do? I'm sorry. What did you do after the defendant and his daughter left the area?
Jimmy's mom was kind of looking around. I kind of, like I said, I stayed with Diana pretty much the whole time. She was looking and Julie was looking around. There were several things from the home that they had noticed were missing, and they were kind of seeing the condition the home was in, because I don't think Diana had been there in a while, and waiting on the sheriff.
Okay. Did someone from the sheriff's department ultimately arrive?
Yes, sir.
Okay. About how long did that take?
Probably 25 minutes after they were called.
How long did the sheriff's deputy stay there?
They were there for quite a while. They come in and interviewed us and was looking around and taking notes of the things that were missing and stuff that was done that looked kind of out of place.
Okay. And who was pointing those items out?
Julie, Diana, me, my brother. My brother spent a lot of time with Jimmy, so he did a lot of work for Jimmy around the home, helping, do things around the house and stuff where Jimmy was getting in bad health that Jimmy couldn't quite do. So Dustin had a pretty good knowledge of where things were and how things were and stuff of that nature.
Okay. And so all of this information was given to the police.
Yes, sir.
All right, you told the police all that you knew.
Yes, sir.
And after the sheriff's deputy, did the sheriff's deputy take photographs of items?
Yes, sir.
And at some point they left, is that right?
We left before they did.
Okay.
I did, at least.
Did you come back to the property?
No, I never did. No.
Was there someone who stayed there overnight to secure the property?
Yes,
Who was that?
that was my brother, Dustin.
Did you, and I apologize if I just asked you this question, but after that, you left that night, did you ever have an opportunity to go back to that property?
I could have if I wanted to, but I didn't. I knew there was an investigation and stuff, so I stayed away.
Okay. Thank you. I have no additional questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Eveland.
Morning.
So I just have a couple of questions for you. Now, counsel did mention that you had a prior theft on your record. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any other charges involving stolen property or anything like that?
I do have a receiving, I'm pretty sure.
Receiving stolen
Yes.
property as well? Are you on probation for that currently?
Yes, sir.
Have you followed all the court's orders?
Yes.
Haven't had any probation violations?
Yes, I had one.
Okay. Well, that would be violating the court's orders, right?
Yeah, well, yes, sir.
Now, I gotta ask you, do you think that stealing is an honest thing?
No, sir.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
No, sir.
So you said that you went on which date to the home with everyone else?
July 25th.
July 25th. Okay. And you haven't been there since?
No, sir.
And you were not present on the day that Mr. Whitaker died, correct?
No, sir.
And you didn't see what happened, correct?
No, sir.
So really all you can testify about is what you saw when you went there on the 25th, right?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You may step down, Mr. Eveland. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can we have a moment?
Certainly.
State calls Keith Strickland.
Your Honor, may we approach before
Yes,
questions?
you may. There, yes. Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide in this cause is truth, whole truth, and nothing but truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, please have a seat. And microphone's good. And there's members of the press that are watching this over a remote feed, and they want to take your picture. Do you have any objection to that?
No.
No, you're good on that? Okay. All right, so you can take Mr. Strickland's pictures. And so go ahead, Mr. King.
Thank you. Sir, if you wouldn't mind, if you can take off your mask. The judge has allowed us to take off masks while we're testifying, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that microphone slightly this way so you're able to look at us while talking.
Okay.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Sir, will you please state your name and spell your last name for us?
Keith Strickland, Strickland.
Mr. Strickland, we've had a few witnesses testify already in this case, so generally your name has been mentioned as a witness to some events. But before we get into your testimony today, I want to just understand a bit more about you. Do you live in Hocking County now?
Yes.
Where?
Well, my residency is, I also stay outside of Chillicothe.
Okay. Are you from Hocking County?
Yes. Butler County born, but lived there since I was 5.
What part of Hocking County?
Benton Township, which is right by South Bloomingville.
Okay.
You know,
And how old are you now, sir?
just turned 38.
So for potentially 30 so or years, you've been in and around the Hocking County area?
Yes.
Okay. In your time in the South Bloomingville area in Benton Township, did you come to know James Whitaker?
Yes.
And how do you know James Whitaker?
I'm the same age as one of his daughters, and Julie, and we went to school together. There's not a lot of kids around South Bloomingville in a sense, so I was friends with her, a couple of the other kids in the area. So I've known Jimmy and his deceased wife Diane since I was younger, when I started hanging out, probably 10 to 12 years of age or so, and hung out with Julie and some of the other kids in the area.
Okay. Well, we just talked to Craig Eveland. Would he be one of the other kids in the area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were friends with Julie, and you were friends with Craig.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that friendship in the neighborhood, that you also interacted with James and Diane.
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about James?
As when I was younger, I didn't have a ton of interaction with him, but he was always, he liked to hunt and fish. He was very big about family and stuff like that. They always did, some family functions together and stuff. I remember when we were younger, the kids and their families, the parents and stuff, the parents were always getting together and having get-togethers and eating and stuff like that, having food and stuff. And as I got older, maybe these last years, I know Jimmy, I didn't have a ton of interaction with him when I was younger. I wasn't socially, as talkative to him as I got older. I know he had had some heart problems here some years back, and I got to be more closer, maybe friends with him, if you will, after that event or whatnot in these last years.
We've heard that Jimmy had a garage and some tools. Would you go over there and use his garage and tools?
Yeah, frequently. Yeah. He was always very helpful with, if I had anything going on with my car or anything in my life for that matter. You know what I mean? I mean, he was always wanting to help or, offering to have, stop by, take care of this or that or whatever was needed, And, but I did frequently work on my car there.
I'm going to show you an image of James Whitaker. Showing you what's marked as admitted Exhibit A. Who's that?
That's Jimmy.
All right. Now, obviously, this is snow on the ground, so this is not July 2020. But does that generally represent what Jimmy looked like in July of 2020 or the summer of 2020?
Yes.
Did he have a beard, if you remember?
Yes.
All right. He kind of looks like a thicker guy. Was he?
Yeah,
Bigger
he's
guy?
he's stocky, not the tallest man in the world, but he's stocky, stocky built gentleman, and but that's his resemblance there, that's him.
In your years of knowing Jimmy, especially in the later part of his life, did you encounter a Michael Dixon?
Yes.
You see him here today?
Yes.
See the gentleman on the far right of this defendant's table wearing a dark suit and a blue mask?
Yes, that's him.
I want to talk about Michael Dixon. When did you meet Mr. Dixon?
In the year before July last year, he moved in over there with Jimmy. It might have been more than a year. End of 2018, 2019, something like that, whenever he started staying over there.
Okay. Do you know how he came to live with Jimmy?
I think not exact details when he showed up per se, but I think he didn't have a place to stay or whatnot, and Jimmy was helping him out with that. I don't know how they met before that and stuff.
Okay. I want to talk about the relationship that Michael had with Jimmy. Because you knew Jimmy and because you knew Michael, did you ever see them interact with each other?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me about their relationship?
Similar to two roommates, I would say. They were both adult males that lived together. I met Mike before. I didn't know any of his siblings or children he had or anything like that before his daughter started staying with him. But they both were older adult males that lived together, didn't kind of by themselves, I reckon. So it was kind of a friendship too. It seemed like.
You mentioned that Michael needed a place to live and Jimmy helped him out. Did Jimmy help him out in other ways as well?
Yeah, I reckon with, buying cigarettes and food, things like that, living type supplies, I assume.
So Jimmy helped him with living supplies, with food, cigarettes, with shelter,
yes.
Things like that?
Yes.
Was there ever an occasion in which you endeavored to help Jimmy move Michael Dixon out of that house?
I had asked him if he could be moved out.
Why?
Why? Because I believed that Mike was having sexual relations with his daughter, and I thought nothing good could come of that.
Sir, there's an objection. Oh, we
approach your honor?
Yes.
Mr. Strickland, you were talking about why you were encouraging James Whitaker to remove Michael Dixon from his home. And you mentioned that you believe there was a sexual relationship between Mr. Dixon and his daughter.
Correct.
Okay, I want to better understand this understanding. First of all, you said daughter. What daughter?
Melody.
Melody.
Yes.
So when Mr. Dixon moved in at the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, was Melody with him?
No.
When did she come around?
I would say sometimes 4 to 6 months, give or take, prior to his disappearance.
We've seen some pictures of the Whitaker residence. We saw some pictures of the basement where Michael Dixon was living. It looked like there was one bedroom and one bed down there. Do you know where Melody was staying?
They stayed together.
When you say together, does that mean they stayed in the same basement together?
Correct. I never saw them lie together, but they went to bed together, and Jimmy said that they stayed down there together.
One second, sir. I want to focus on what you saw and what you witnessed, okay?
Correct.
All right, so, and we'll take this in stride. Mm-hmm. So you said they stayed together in the basement. Do you know that they stayed together in the same bedroom?
There was only one bedroom down there.
And in that bedroom, how many beds were there?
One.
Now, let's just say on a given night when you're over there and Michael would go downstairs to bed, what would typically happen before he went downstairs to bed when Melody was there?
He told her to come to bed.
All right, so Michael stands up, says, Melody, come to bed, what does that mean? Where do they go?
Downstairs.
Into that bedroom.
I'm assuming. I've never followed them.
Okay. Did you hear Michael Dixon ever make any sexual comments about Melody Dixon?
Sexual, he maybe.
Clarify, I'm sorry. Did he ever make comments about Melody Dixon's appearance?
Yes, her appearance maybe. Yes.
You know, do you have a child?
Yes, I have a daughter.
And I'm sure you made a comment about your daughter's clothing at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can you tell me the context in which Michael Dixon would refer to Melody Dixon's appearance?
In a more comforting, likening manner than, is normal, between a father-daughter.
So what you would describe as an abnormal, not a normal comment about your daughter's appearance?
Correct.
Like talking about, can you give me an example?
Maybe that she looked good, wearing said shirt or, said pants,
That can sound innocent though. So what about saying, Melody looked good in those pants that gave you the belief that he was making an inappropriate comment about Melody?
Probably the manner in which he talks. You can usually tell how people are thinking some by how they talk.
Absolutely, and I think we can certainly appreciate that you can get context on someone's intention by the way they talk.
Yes.
In addition to him making these comments about Melody, about going to bed with Melody, and about staying in the same bedroom that has one bed with Melody, did you ever hear sounds coming from that bedroom?
Yes.
And I'm gonna get more specific. Did you ever, sir? You've got a child, so I presume that you've also had sexual relations with someone at some point, right?
Correct.
All right. You're 38 years old. Do you know what the sounds of intimacy are?
Yes.
Coming from a bedroom?
Yes.
Thinking about those sounds that you heard in that bedroom when Melody Dixon was in there and Michael Dixon was in there, would you consider those sounds of intimacy, of sexual relations?
Yes, I would.
And what does that mean to you? What can you tell us about the sounds, just generally?
Well, typically, if two people are going to bed to sleep, there's not, any type of noise. There's typically stillness or quietness, If you hear any type of thumping or bumping, rumbling around of the house or walls or floors, I would say it's not sleeping.
So actual sounds of like repeated movements.
Correct.
Generated by a bed.
Correct.
Objection.
Approach.
You mentioned that you heard this thumping sound coming from that bedroom. That didn't sound like someone was sleeping. Did you ever hear any sounds from them, from Melody or Michael?
No, not particular.
Okay, so we've talked about Michael's relationship with Melody, and we've talked about Michael Dixon's relationship with James Whitaker. We were mentioning that you had helped or tried to get James Whitaker to kick Michael Dixon out, and that the reason was because of that sexual relationship that you believe was happening. Did Jimmy kick him out?
No. I think he maybe in some way liked having the company, but he seemed reluctant to make Mike leave.
So just so we can understand the timeline here, you said that Melody came to live with Michael and James 4 or so months before James died. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So then, presumably, did the attempt to convince Jimmy to kick him out, that happened sometime in the months leading up to July, is that right? Okay, I want to talk about July 4th. Where were you on July 4th of 2020?
For part of the day, I was up there at Jimmy's in the garage working on my car.
Where were you earlier in the day?
Centerville, Ohio.
So you came back from Centerville, Ohio to Hocking County,
Yes,
and then you went straight to Jimmy's house?
yes.
Why'd you do that?
I did that frequently. You know, I stopped over there. I mean, like I said, Jimmy was my friend. That particular day, I was working on my car. I was having a lot of trouble with the car, but I went to Jimmy's frequently.
And you were going to use his equipment at the house?
Correct. He let me work. He let me use the garage and tools if I needed.
Before we talk about maybe what you did on your car that day, sir, do you use meth?
Yes.
You're 38. How long have you been using meth?
On and off, decade maybe or so, you know.
And you said on and off, but when it's on, what is your use like?
Every day.
You call this a habit?
Oh, yes.
Would you call it an
Yes.
addiction?
Yes, I do have a substance addiction problem.
And you said off. Does that mean that you were taking some time away from drug use?
There's been times that I've been struggling with it most of my life, and it's not something I wish to continue doing.
What about those off times? How do those off times come about?
Make attempts to just not use things, you know, keep clean. You know, I've had many times throughout the years where I haven't used.
That include treatment services?
Yes, I have tried that before, yes.
Because you've been using meth for over or around a decade, would you say that you're pretty familiar with the effects of meth on
Yes.
an individual?
Yes.
Okay. Did you use meth with James Whitaker?
Yes.
Were you familiar with the effects of methamphetamines on James Whitaker?
Yes.
You know, presuming that I don't know, and that maybe members of the jury don't know of these types of effects, does methamphetamines affect you differently depending on how much you've consumed?
Yes, I would say so.
All right, so depending on how much someone consumes can affect how much the meth can affect an individual.
Yes, you know.
Had you also used methamphetamines with Michael Dixon?
I had.
I want to talk about, I want to talk about July 4th, and, you know, we're going to explore meth use, your use that day, Jimmy's use that day, and Michael Dixon's use that day, okay? And I want to make sure we have the context of understanding that, you know, we're going to talk about this because you have experience with it, and you have experience with these gentlemen as well. So, on July 4th, you came from the Centerville area to Hocking County. To work on your car, you said.
Yeah, well, I was coming off probably usually for the 4th. I mean, see family and stuff, you know. My
Okay.
daughter was over that evening.
Okay, all right, so you're coming back home pretty much.
Yes, correct.
And, you know, you stopped at Jimmy's to work on the car.
Correct.
Do you remember what you were doing on the car?
I believe it was work with the suspension.
Tell me about that. Like, what does it mean to work on a suspension? I'm not the most, I'm kind of a car guy, but not the biggest car guy. So what does it mean to work on a suspension?
The areas involving around the wheels and the lower parts of the car.
Does that mean like jacking the car up?
Yes.
Did Jimmy have a lift?
No, he had jacks and
So
stuff.
Do you have to jack up, you know, there are 4 wheels. Do you have to jack up one wheel or potentially multiple wheels at a time?
Yes, sometimes, yes, depending on what you're working on.
Did Mike help you that day?
He did some,
Did Jimmy help you that day?
yes.
You remember what time you arrived on the 4th?
It would have been, I think, early afternoon.
So early afternoon. Did you personally use meth that day?
Yes.
All right. Let's do our best to kind of educate everybody here what that means. So First, about how much meth did you have with you?
If you put it in amount wise, gram and a half, not more.
Okay, so around a gram and a half?
Yeah.
Maybe, or less than a gram and a half?
Yeah, give or take, yeah, but not a lot, you know.
How did you use that substance?
Usually snorted it or smoked it.
That was, you said usually on that day. Do you remember how it was used?
Snorted.
Did James Whitaker use meth that day?
Yes.
And how did he use it?
Snorting it.
Did Michael Dixon use meth that day?
Yes.
And how did he use it?
Snorting it.
You know, a gram and a half might be relatively meaningless to all of us in here without having the context of what that is. For the three of you using a gram and a half that day, what does that do?
Elevates.
Let me correct myself. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You said that each of you used. How much did you snort, do you think?
Six, you know, give or half a dozen lines or so. Each line being a 15th to a 20th of a gram.
Okay. Was that about the same consumption for Michael and Jimmy?
Yeah, me and Jimmy maybe did more than him, but you know, give or take, you know, about all the same kind of, you know.
All right. Was Melody there that day?
I believe so.
You remember if she participated in snorting meth?
I don't remember with her.
She might have, but she might not have.
Yes.
So 3 or maybe 4 people using the same amount that day?
Yes.
Was there any left over after that night concluded?
I probably had some left, maybe a little bit. I usually tried to keep a little, you know, for later the next day.
So 3 to 4 people consumed less than a gram and a half because you had some left over. Is that about right?
Yeah.
What does that amount of meth do to you?
Make you, you know, kind of a little more hyper, speed it up, maybe elevates temperature a little bit.
Physical temperature, like you get hotter?
Yes, yeah, physical temperature, I mean, you know, yeah.
Does it make you more violent or less violent?
Some people it could affect that way, but me, no.
What does this do to Jimmy?
Maybe makes him a little more hyper, you know, but similar, you know, to what it did to me, I think, you know.
So then, does it make Jimmy more violent?
Not that I had seen, no.
Have you ever seen him pull a gun on somebody when he's used meth?
No.
Have you ever seen him pull a gun on anybody?
No.
So you've taken this meth that speeds you up, makes you a little hyper, makes you a little warmer. Now, I mean, I'm thinking you're also got a car jacked up, which is a heavy item, and you're getting under the car. Does that make you concerned that you lack the capacity to work on a car?
No, I've done it many times before.
And not only is it potentially dangerous working on a car, just generally, but would you say it's technical to work on the suspension system?
Some, yeah. I mean, it's easier if you know things about it, you know.
And did you know some things about it?
I do, yeah.
Does Michael Dixon know some things about it?
He does.
Does Jimmy know some things about it?
Yeah, all 3 of us did. That's why it was helpful sometimes for me to work on it there, because I could have other opinions if, you know, needed.
So you had taken meth, but you were still had the capacity to work on your car.
Correct.
Had you ever taken so much meth that you wouldn't be able to work on a car? Do you think?
Probably, yeah, in the sense that your motor skills, you know, things like that would be affected.
It wasn't like that day.
No.
How long do you think that amount of meth would have stayed in your system, feeling the effects of that meth?
Feeling the effects, couple hours, you know.
And is that like a scale that it's going down as the time passes?
Yes, I mean, you'll stay awake for a while, but the actual, you know, maybe buzz feeling, if you will, is not going to last, you know, that long. The same effect as the time you're awake.
Have you ever had to take a toxicology report or lab, like, you know, pee in a cup or give blood?
Yes,
And do you know that that is done to determine if you've consumed drugs?
yes.
Do you know how long meth stays in your system?
1 to 3 days, depending on the half-life.
So if Jimmy wasn't burned up, we'd be able to test his blood to see if he had and how much meth he had in his blood. Withdrawn, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Jury, disregard the question.
All right, so what time did you leave that night?
I was picked up between 10 and 11 because I left the car there.
And who picked you up?
My mother, my daughter, mother driving.
Did you notice anything remarkable about the interaction between James and Michael before you left that day?
I did not.
I mean, you know, it was a July 4th, but even in hindsight, thinking back about what happened later on that night, nothing comes to mind.
No.
I want to talk about the next day, July 5th. What did you do on July 5th?
I came back over to finish my car.
And when you say came back over, is that back over to Jimmy's house?
Correct.
Do you remember what time you went back over there?
I do not, no.
You know, you can normally break a day down by 3 times a day, morning, afternoon,
Yeah.
night. Do you remember?
It would have probably been afternoon because I have my daughter.
Okay. Did you see Jimmy that day?
I did not.
Did you ask about Jimmy?
Yeah,
Who did you ask?
Mike.
Did you ask Melody?
I don't, not directly, no.
All right. Well, what did what did Michael say when you asked about Jimmy?
Like he said, when he woke up, he was gone.
When Michael woke up in the morning, he was gone.
Yeah, or when he woke up whenever, yeah, he was gone.
Did he say that did Michael say that Jimmy took anything with him?
I say he took his shotgun.
So Michael said that when he
1100.
asked, I'm sorry,
The 1100, I'm sorry, I was just specifying the rifle or the gun or whatever.
that's okay. I don't want to talk over you because we're building a record here. So thank you for clarifying. So Michael said that when he woke up, James had left and taken his shotgun with him. The 1100.
He said he was gone.
Okay.
He just said he was gone, you know. He didn't say he left.
Got it.
Yeah.
He said gone, not
Yes,
left.
he just said he wasn't there, as
Okay.
in, you know, he was gone, he wasn't there when he woke up.
But the shotgun was also gone.
Yes, that may have came up, I can't remember if that came up later in talking, but, you know,
Okay. And I apologize to backtrack. Did Michael and Melody come over your house on the evening of 4th of July?
no,
Did anybody come over your house to work on a car or anything like that?
no.
And your house would have been your parents' house at the
My
time?
parents' house, yeah, I wasn't living there at the time, residing there.
Do you know if you went in the house that day inside the actual cabin on the 5th?
I might have, but can't recall what time or anything. If anything, I would have went in just to sit down in a chair for a couple minutes because there wasn't one out in the garage.
You said you might have. If you did go in, do you think you would have gone in the kitchen?
In the living room, maybe, but the living room and kitchen are kind of the same, you know.
So to get to the kitchen, you'd go through the living room and further into the house?
Correct.
So you might not have gone all the way into the kitchen?
Correct.
Do you remember how many times you asked Michael about Jimmy that day?
Probably just the one time,
Okay.
you know, that day, yeah.
All right, and after that day, now let's think about the time between the 5th of July when you first asked about Jimmy, and then let's say the 25th of July. Did you ever go back over Jimmy's house during that 20 or so day period?
I did.
How many times do you think you went over Jimmy's house during that period?
Numerous.
And those numerous times, did you ever ask Michael where Jimmy was?
I did.
Did you ask him every time you went over?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I didn't go over there to see Mike, you know. I went over there to see Jimmy, so, you know, or work on my car, but I had permission to go over there, you know, whenever if needed for, you know, usually whatever reason. You know, Jimmy was very kind, treated me like family, you know. So I usually inquired, you know, during that time when I showed up, you know, if he came back or whatever, was back around.
So these numerous times you went over, you would ask him, where's Jimmy? And what did Michael say?
I didn't know.
Did his story stay consistent with that he left and I don't know?
Yeah, or he wasn't there when I woke up and I don't know type deal, yeah.
Did he ever say that he was in fear of his own life and shot Jimmy to defend himself?
No.
Did he ever say that Jimmy was threatening to harm Melody and that he had shot and killed Jimmy to protect the life of his daughter?
No, he never stated those things.
Did you ever talk to Melody while those numerous times you went over there?
A few times.
Did she ever say anything about...
Objection.
May we approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
All right, sir. Mr. Strickland, I think the question I asked was, did you talk to Melody? I think you said yes during that time period. And then my next question was, did she ever say anything about James in his absence? Or did you ever ask her about his absence? Did she say anything to you about James between the 5th of July and the 25th of July?
She didn't say too much, no, but I didn't speak with her as frequently as Mike.
But she didn't offer that, you know, would she, in the presence, when you asked Michael, where's James at any occasion?
Yeah, she was.
Might have been a bad question, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, I was taking a drink of water. On the occasions in which you asked Michael, where's Jimmy or James Whitaker, was she ever present?
Possibly, yeah. She didn't offer much input.
Okay. But she didn't say anything about what I asked you earlier about this self-defense?
No, she did not.
You mentioned earlier that you are family friends with the Whitakers, including Julie Whitaker. Did anyone from the Whitaker family ever contact you wondering and worried about James Whitaker?
Julie did.
Do you remember when she called you or contacted you?
It would have been a couple days before we came down there with it. She came down with Jimmy's mother. So around the 20th, maybe a few days, you know, a day or two after, sometime around then.
Okay. So if I said we've had some testimony that the day that she came down was on July 25th, Would you say then a couple days before July 25th is when she contacted?
Yeah, I spoke to her the day or 2 days before that, sometime, one of those 2 times.
And she was soliciting help to help find her dad?
She called to ask me to arrange for me to come up. Her car wasn't running. She was concerned that she hadn't talked to Jimmy, and asked me, of course, because she knows I probably was over there, and asked me if I'd seen him, things like that. And then she needed help getting a part for her car so she could get down there. So was asking me to arrange to get up there to help her get their vehicle going to get down there.
So you were down in Benton, is Benton or Benton? I'm sorry.
Benton Township.
And then you drove up to Columbus to help her with her car, and then drove back with her after the car was fixed?
Yeah, I drove up and went to the junkyard, picked up a part for her car. I think it was at Light, and brought it over to her, helped get it in, and then she and Jimmy's mom came down there to Hockin County.
I apologize, I got to backtrack, I got ahead of myself. On one of the occasions in which you were over Jimmy's house in between the 5th of July and the 25th of July, did Michael ever come up to you and offer an explanation different than the "I don't know where Jimmy is"?
Yeah, he brought a note up to me when I was out in the garage the one afternoon.
So you're out in the garage and you said he brought a note. What is the note?
It was 3 pieces of paper.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit QQ. Just for a moment, sir, I'm just going to scroll through QQ, which is 3 images here. You recognize this as the letter that Michael brought to you?
I think it is it, yeah.
Now, when he brought this to you, you said you're in the garage.
Yes.
So he hands it to you. Does he tell you what it is?
No, he just said he found this when he...
Did he tell you where he found it?
I think he said some clothes. Pile clothes or something.
Do you remember when this was, sometime in July?
Mid-month.
Mid-month? Okay, so mid-month, you're working in the garage, and he says he found this note and shows it to you. All right, so you're looking at this note. I mean, what are you thinking when you see this note?
I scanned through it, saw what kind of note it was, and figured I took it, as soon as I saw what kind of note it was, I figured it was crap because that's not Jimmy's writing. And I took some pictures of it, of all 3 pages.
Did Michael take the note back?
Yes.
So he didn't let you keep it?
I didn't offer to. I already had the pictures.
Okay. So you said it's crap and it's not his writing. I want to make sure we break that down. When you say not his writing, so are you saying it's not like his handwriting?
I didn't think so.
Why do you not think it's his handwriting?
Jimmy wrote in wrote in cursive a lot.
Okay, and the writing that you saw was not in cursive.
Jimmy doesn't call himself Jimbo.
Doesn't call himself Jimbo.
In
the 30 or so, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
On a couple of those pages, it looks like different people wrote some of it to me.
So in the 30 or so years that you've known Jimmy, did you know him to be a writer?
He wrote frequently.
Letters, things like that?
Yes.
And had you read his writing previously?
I had.
Now, not focusing just on the handwriting itself, and you focus on the way it is written, the voice of this writer. Did Jimmy write in complete sentences?
Yes.
Okay.
you know.
Does this look like, I'm gonna scroll through it and I can let you just read it to yourself. But does this look like Jimmy's handwriting, or excuse me, the way that Jimmy writes? Give me 1 second. Pull up first image here. Does that look like something Jimmy would have written?
It's not.
Not only does it not look like it, but it's not something you've written. Okay.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Yes.
In addition to, we talked about the letter that happened after the 4th of July and before the 25th. We talked about the occasions that Michael said he didn't know what happened. I want to talk about some other things that you and Michael, or Michael asked you to help out with. Did you help him move anything in the kitchen in that
Yeah.
time period?
We cleaned up, like tidied up, if you will, some of the, living room area.
Okay. Did he move a refrigerator?
Yes.
Were you there when he moved it?
Yeah.
Did you help him move a shelf in the kitchen area?
Yes.
Did you know why he was moving this stuff?
No, it started out, we were tidying things up. They found, they would find old pills and all kinds of things all the time, lying around in there, and all the clutter and stuff. And was probably looking around for that or whatnot, but it didn't occur to me that, was hiding anything or anything like that.
So Michael didn't tell you why that he was moving stuff, but you presumed it was just to find some.
Yeah, they found stuff all the time,
Did you know that there was a burn pit that the Whitakers used to burn trash?
Yeah,
Did you know where that was on the property?
yeah.
Did Michael ever ask you to help bring some stuff out to that burn pit?
I took out stuff that like trash we had picked up, but I didn't go all the way out to the pit.
Okay, so you moved stuff back towards there, and then he finished carrying it the rest of the way?
I'm assuming,
When you went over on the 5th of July, did you notice that the big screen TV, that 60-some inch TV, was that still in Jimmy's house?
Yes.
Did you ever notice that TV missing in the coming weeks?
Not till the 25th, around that time.
Did you notice that other things were missing in the house as well?
Not noticed, yeah.
I'm sorry if this question, offends you, but did you ever take anything from Jimmy? Did you steal from him?
No.
Did you steal anything from him after July 4th of that year?
No, not beyond accidentally taking tools or something home.
So if Mr. Dixon accused you in an interview that you came over in the middle of the night and would take things from the house, would that be a lie?
Yeah.
I want to talk about July 25th. So you began by explaining how this came about and that Julie called you and you fixed her car and you came down. What happened after you returned to Hocking County?
We got back down to Hocking County. We stopped and picked up Craig and Dustin. They lived up the road from where Jimmy's place was. I think, Julie and Jimmy's mother, I reckon they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what was going on. And they didn't know or care for Mike and them that much, I reckon, and probably wanted extra people there, to avoid any confrontations that could turn bad, for them or whatever. They're two girls.
And so you went over there with 4 other people, I believe, and as you said, and then what happens when you get there?
Mike and Melody were there. Julie, they came in, we all came in the house or whatnot. TV was gone. They were asking about Jimmy, asking Mike and stuff where he was and if he had seen him, things like that. And they were pretty upset, not knowing what was happened or what happened, things like that. And they asked Mike and them of course they ask about the stuff, be it the TV and stuff like that, and I think she had noticed maybe other things might have been missing, and had told them to get out of there.
Did Michael say anything to Melody that you remember?
Not beyond, come on, let's go,
Did anybody ask Michael and Melody where Jimmy was?
Yes.
And what was the response of Michael or Melody?
That he hadn't seen him, or whatnot, And
when confronted by Jimmy's mother, Jimmy's daughter, and some friends, did Mike and Melody ever say anything about a claim of self-defense?
No, that was never brought up ever.
Sir, the stuff that you took out to the kitchen, out towards the burn pit, was that stuff that Michael had given you to take out?
No, it was like trash I picked up off the floor and stuff like that.
Okay. And that was working in conjunction with Michael to
Yeah.
get that stuff out of there?
Yeah.
That's all I have, thank you.
Why don't we take about a 15-minute break here? As I've told you before, do not discuss the case among yourselves. Do not permit anybody to discuss it with you or in your presence. It is your duty not to form or express any opinion on the case until it's finally submitted to you. So we'll see you back in about 15 minutes. That's about 20 till. Thank you.